are the times when Glenn Quagmire went too far in Family Guy. We start our list with the time Quagmire got married during a blackout weekend and nearly slept with Peter to undo it. Yeah, we're off to a strong start. It begins when Quagmire, Peter, and Joe decide to hit Boston for a wild guys weekend. You know, just some light sightseeing, followed by fire, chaos, and enough property damage to bankrupt a small country. The next morning, Quagmire wakes up with a hangover and a new wife, Charmise. She announces herself like she owns the place because technically, now she kind of does.
Who the hell are you?
Who the hell do you think I am, sweetie?
Oh no, you mean?
That's right, baby. As of last night, we're man and wife.
Oh my God, I married a hooker?
That's right. Somewhere between the tequila shots and total memory loss, Quagmire managed to marry a woman he barely remembers. And not just any woman, because Charmise is, how do we say this nicely, more experienced than he anticipated. Quagmire panics, obviously. He wants a divorce immediately. But Joe delivers the bad news. If he tries that, she gets everything. House, money, probably his robe collection. The man is trapped. So he tries to make it work. He gives Charmise a shot, but every dinner feels like a crime scene, and every romantic moment ends with someone spitting. It's not love, it's a hostage situation. And then Charmise accuses him of being gay. Not in a supportive way either, more like an insult she dug out of 1995. She thinks he's gay because he hasn't touched her since they got married 2 weeks ago. And seeing this as an opportunity to get out of it, Quagmire just goes with it.
Well, Charmise, I have something to tell you, and this isn't easy. But I'm gay.
I am gay, he says. Boom. Problem solved. Almost. Charmise, ever the expert in adult content and terrible ideas, demands proof. She wants to watch him with another man. Totally normal wife request. And somehow, Quagmire decides the best man for this job is Peter. Peter reacts how any sane person would, by negotiating like they're trading baseball cards. Quagmire agrees, and this is his last resort. His friendship is on the line, his dignity is already gone, the man is ready to go through with it. And they actually try.
Quagmire, what's going on with you? You don't seem very present tonight. Why are you so tense?
I'm tense because I have to bang you in 20 minutes!
Well, if it's so much of a chore!
What the f is going on with my life?
It gets awkward fast. Sweaty, panicked, and full of stalling. If there was any attraction at all, it got scared and ran for the hills. Quagmire can't go through with it. Turns out, he really is straight, and really, really desperate. Charmise watches the disaster unfold, and in a twist no one saw coming, gives him the divorce. So let's recap. Quagmire flew to Boston, married a woman he couldn't remember, tried to prove he was gay, and nearly hooked up with his best friend. All to escape a wedding ring. That's not love, that is psychological warfare, and Quagmire really went way too far with that one. We kicked off our list with the time Quagmire almost slept with Peter just to escape a marriage. Now, we move on to another whirlwind romance where Glenn somehow goes from nice to meet you to till death do us part in record time. It all happens in the episode I Take Thee Quagmire, when Peter wins a personal maid for a week after spinning the right wedge on Wheel of Fortune.
Hi, I'm Joan. I'm, your maid for the week.
That's Joanne, a no-nonsense housekeeper who quickly starts organizing Peter's weird life, one strange chore at a time. Peter, being Peter, invites the guys over just to show off his new prize. And that's where Quagmire meets Joanne. But this time, his mind doesn't immediately go to the gutter. In fact, it goes straight to Middle Earth. Instead of the usual sleazy daydream, Quagmire imagines Joanne in a romantic fantasy. Lord of the Rings, but with fewer wizards and more weirdness. Still, it's the most respectful we've ever seen him be, for now. He nervously asks Joanne out to dinner. Shockingly, she says yes. And what starts as a single date turns into a full-blown coupledom seemingly overnight. Within what feels like a week, Quagmire claims they are celebrating their anniversary. That math is suspicious, but so is everything about this relationship.
What is it, Glenn?
Joan, I've decided I want to spend my life with you. Will you marry me?
Of course I will.
Yes, he proposes. Just like that, no background checks, no second thoughts, just pure, unfiltered Quagmire impulse. And Joanne, she says yes without even blinking. Peter and the guys are invited over for dinner, still convinced the whole thing must be a bit. But when Quagmire opens the door, they're greeted by someone else entirely.
Hey there, neighbors. Are you lost? I'm just joshing. Of course we're expecting you. Come on in, friends. If you all just take your shoes off there, Joan and I kind of do the Japanese thing.
Gone is the oversexed bachelor. In his place is a buttoned-up suburban husband who talks like a preschool teacher. If the lap dance moment doesn't knock you over, you might want to check your pulse.
All right, Quagmire, time for your lap dance.
No, guys, I can't do that. It's degrading to women.
That's Quagmire refusing a lap dance. We didn't even know that was physically possible. But of course, the act can't hold out forever. At his own wedding, he starts ogling Lois across the room.
So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is, some of the guys thought we should get a divorce.
And there it is, the moment of clarity. That familiar giggity breaks free from Quagmire's fake moral cage. But there's a problem. Joanne's not going to let him go so easily. She pulls out a knife and threatens to take both of them out in a double death pact if he leaves. In true Quagmire fashion, he does what any rational, mature man would do. He fakes a heart attack. Yes, instead of facing the consequences of a rushed marriage, Glenn Quagmire fakes his own death. His friends even hold a fake funeral just so he can disappear. And yet, we're supposed to believe Charmise was the crazy one? Honestly, marrying someone just to realize you're still into lap dances and Lois, and then pulling the plug on the whole thing by pretending to die, that's just classic Quagmire. The man doesn't break up, he vanishes. And that's why this moment earns its place on our list. Because even when he tries to be normal, Quagmire goes way too far. After escaping a literal knife-wielding bride, you would think Quagmire might take a break from dating. No. Instead, he finds a new obsession, and this time, it's digital. Quagmire discovers Tinder. It all happens in the episode The Dating Game. The guys are at the bar when Mort casually mentions that he's been meeting a lot of women lately, thanks to Tinder. Peter and Joe already seem to know what the app is, but Quagmire, he's stuck in the analog age. After the guys explain to him in very graphic details what Tinder is, Quagmire is immediately hooked. He can't believe there's an app where people skip all the small talk and go straight to business. Tinder was basically designed for a guy like him.
That was great. And we could still make our reservation.
What? Why? We already had sex.
Wait, so I don't have to make small talk with you or spend any money?
Of course not. Here, wipe yourself off with this West Elm catalog.
My God, this app is amazing!
That must be one of Quagmire's wildest dreams. He can't believe his luck. At first, he's thrilled. Date after date after date. Women everywhere. The kind of numbers even he didn't think were possible. But soon, it starts to spiral. He becomes a man on a mission. Swipe, match, repeat. And somewhere in the middle of all that swiping, Quagmire takes it too far. He gets way too deep. His life now revolves only around Tinder. I wouldn't doubt he even stopped being a pilot just to focus on meeting women on Tinder. Golf games, the guy is hunched in his room in the dark, finger blistered from swiping. Peter and Joe try to check in, but the Quagmire they knew is gone, replaced by a goblin-like creature with bloodshot eyes and wild hair. At this point, he looks more like a Tinder vampire than a man. Eventually, his friends stage a mini intervention. They take his phone, but Quagmire is way too addicted. He will do anything for another swipe. The guys even throw in a musical intervention about how Tinder makes you gross.
There was a time when you'd be more selective, when you were horny and feeling erective. Now one swipe and there's thousands to bone, all from a sex app you use on your phone. That's the Tinder!
Even that doesn't snap him out of it. He just spirals further, ending up drunk and alone at a bar, trying to ask the girl seated next to him if she's on Tinder. He is hopeless. Until something strange happens. A little version of Quagmire appears on his shoulder. Not a devil or an angel, just a tinier version of his creepy self. And somehow, this tiny Quagmire gives him better advice than anyone else has all day.
Come on, Quagmire, this is a real girl right in front of you. Just pick her up and take her home. You don't need your phone.
Exactly! There is a real woman in front of him. He doesn't need the app. All he has to do is talk to her. And just like that, the old Quagmire starts to re-emerge. He lies about having buried his twin brother earlier that day and needs some company. Because, of course he does. The point is, he is back to being awful in the real world instead of being awful online. And honestly, that is kind of progress. But for Quagmire and online dating, even his friends agree he went too far. Everyone knows Quagmire has some pretty questionable standards standards when it comes to dating. As long as the woman is 18, he thinks everything is fair game. He never really worries about consequences like whether he might have fathered a kid or two over the years. So when the guys randomly end up at a high school prom one night, Quagmire spots a young woman named Courtney. She's legally an adult, and that is good enough for him. To everyone's surprise, Courtney is actually into him. They hit it off on the dance floor, and for once, it looks like Quagmire has met someone who really clicks with him. In his usual fashion, things escalate fast. He even starts walking her through some paperwork. Yes, he brings legal documents to his hookups now, just to make sure everything is above board. As things start heating up, everything seems to be going according to Quagmire's usual weird plan. But then, out of nowhere, Courtney lets something slip that changes everything.
Oh, Courtney.
Oh, Glenn. Oh, giggity.
Wait, did you just say giggity?
That one word stops him cold, because nobody just says giggity, not unless they picked it up from someone very specific. Quagmire puts two and two together, and the horrifying truth hits him.
Here, rub this up and down on the inside of your cheek.
Giggity.
Ah, stop saying that!
What is it, Glenn? What's wrong?
You're my daughter!
Yep. Quagmire almost slept with his own daughter, and suddenly, all his questionable choices over the years come crashing down on him. It's one of those rare moments where even Quagmire is too stunned to continue. To his credit, he immediately calls it off. But now, he's stuck with a shocking new reality. He has a daughter, and he almost crossed a very disturbing line. Courtney has questions. She wants to know who her mom is, she's never met her, and this sudden discovery leaves her with a lot of blanks to fill. But asking Quagmire for answers? That's probably a lost cause. The only thing he can come up with are names taken from random objects in his kitchen. Somehow, Courtney still finds it touching. It's probably the closest thing to sincerity she's going to get from him. Turns out, Courtney hasn't had the easiest life, and even though Quagmire is the last person anyone would call father material, he actually steps up. He lets her move in, he tries to bond, he even starts calling Peter out for his sexist jokes. It feels like maybe, just maybe, fatherhood has changed him. He even sets up a father-daughter camping trip and convinces Peter to come along with Meg. But this is still Quagmire we're talking about, and nothing ever stays wholesome for long. Eventually, things go south. The group gets lost, Quagmire starts to unravel, and then, in a full meltdown, he lets his frustrations out. That's not exactly the kind of memory you want from your first camping trip with your father, but Courtney tries to talk to him, to reason with him, but he cuts her off with one final outburst.
Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't.
I'm not Dad! I'm Quagmire! Glenn Quagmire! Giggity f***ing giggity! I don't want to be out here. I hate camping! And what the hell was the theme of that stupid prom? All the cups said, "Oh, what a night." I mean, if it was "Oh, what a night" with a K, that would have made some sense, because there was a suit of armor there. What was that about?
And just like that, the illusion is over. Quagmire is not built for this. Not for parenting, not for growth. He is who he always has been. A deeply inappropriate man who will never change. And in this case, he went way too far, even for him. Our next feature on this list is the episode Teagues for Two. Brian is crushed after getting rejected by a woman he really likes, Denise. He's desperate, and after a recommendation from Peter, he decides to attend the Q-Man's class on picking up ladies. And well, Quagmire is all too happy to take the lead. Quagmire hosts a full-on seminar. He's confident, crude, and way too proud of his methods. To him, dating isn't about connection, it's about conquest. He tells the group that women do not want a nice guy, they want someone reckless, someone they'll regret, and he is more than willing to be that guy.
Now, how many of you guys think a woman is looking for Prince Charming? Wrong! They're looking for bastards like me! You want to know how many times I've been laid since last night? 60. Why? Because I'm not trying to be a girl's Prince Charming. I'm trying to be that big mistake they made at the bar last night.
Yes, Quagmire actually claims he slept with 60 women since the night before. Just to put that into perspective, a day has 24 hours. Still, Brian gives the lessons a shot. To his surprise, Quagmire's tips work. He starts attracting women with all the wrong techniques. But just as things seem to be going his way, the story takes a sharp turn. Brian ends up dating Cheryl Teagues. Not just any woman, the woman Quagmire has been in love with for years. Suddenly, the teacher becomes bitter and petty.
Cheryl?
Hi, Glenn.
What are you doing here?
Well, you know, it's been so many years, and I was in the neighborhood, and I thought I'd just drop by and say hi. My new boyfriend, I guess, knows you and told me where you live.
Hey, Cheryl, get your fat ass over here before I dump you.
Cheryl shows up happy and bubbly, totally unaware of the emotional bomb she just dropped. Quagmire tries to keep his cool, but you can feel the rage bubbling under the surface. He decides to get back at Brian, and not by having a mature conversation, no, but by pulling the most Quagmire move possible. He tracks down Brian's ex-girlfriend, Jillian, and shows up with her at dinner. Now, this is where Quagmire really goes too far. He tells Brian that he got Jillian to date him by pretending to be some sort of inspector. Seriously. And when Jillian asked for proof, he apparently had one. It's so absurd you almost want to laugh. But then you realize how creepy that actually is. The dinner spirals fast. Brian is shocked, Jillian is totally unaware she's being used, and Quagmire is clearly only there to make a point. The tension builds until the two guys finally snap. Punches are thrown, insults fly, and the fight spills out into the street. Both of them end up single, bruised, and exhausted. But even after all that chaos, Brian tries to find a silver lining. He suggests maybe, just maybe, this shared disaster could bring them closer as friends. Quagmire pretends to go along with it until Brian asks him for a ride home.
Oh, hey, listen, Cheryl actually drove me, and I spent all my cash in the restaurant, even though you said you'd pay. So, would you mind giving me a lift home, buddy?
And just like that, you can tell Quagmire is definitely not over it. This episode pulls back the curtain on how far Quagmire is willing to go when his ego is bruised. Tricking women, using people to make a point, and turning friendship into a competition. It's all classic Quagmire, but in this case, he doesn't just cross a line, he dances over it. It's moments like this that remind us why Quagmire is both hilarious and horrifying. His lessons may get laughs, but they come with a very uncomfortable price. After the chaos of stealing each other's girlfriends and punching each other at dinner, Quagmire takes on another wild ride in the episode Brian's a Bad Father. The guys decide to go on a hunting trip. Just 3 friends, a few guns, and the kind of wilderness that usually spells disaster for this group. And it doesn't take long. Peter being handed a firearm is already questionable, but Peter trying to explain how the safety works, that's practically a guarantee someone is going to get shot. And sure enough, he pulls the trigger and sends a bullet straight into Quagmire's arm. Joe calls it one of the dumbest things Peter has ever done. Honestly, that's a pretty bold claim considering Peter once swallowed 50 nickels because he wanted to become famous. But this definitely makes the short list. So now Quagmire is injured, humiliated, and understandably furious. Peter tries apologizing, but it doesn't seem to work.
Hey, Quagmire, what's with the cast? Did you hurt your arm after I shot you in the arm?
The shooting was the injury, Peter.
Look, I already said I was sorry like 100 times.
Looks like Peter really is sorry for the shooting, but Quagmire, well aware that Peter isn't remorseful, asks back for everything he had ever given Peter, and this leads to a serious argument. This isn't just some petty squabble, Quagmire straight up ends the friendship. He calls Peter an idiot and walks away, finally saying what every viewer has yelled at the screen for years.
Damn it, Peter, that's it. I am done. I'm done with you. I'm done with all your crap. I never want to speak to you again. This friendship is over.
But since this is Family Guy, emotional maturity only lasts about 20 seconds. Soon, Peter and Quagmire start trading insults like middle schoolers. They won't even sit in the same booth at the bar anymore. This is where Quagmire goes too far. Yes, Peter shot him. Yes, he had every right to be mad. But instead of letting time or maybe a sincere talk fix things, Quagmire jumps straight into all-out war. The profanity, the insults, that's no longer about trying to heal, it's squarely about vengeance. Now Joe has to pick sides, which is a terrible position for a guy who just wanted a beer. He chooses Quagmire, and Peter is absolutely devastated. But somehow, Peter thinks he can fix all of this by getting shot back.
Quagmire, I have given this a lot of thought. I need you to shoot me in the arm so we can be friends again.
Yes, Peter shows up to Quagmire's place and hands him a loaded gun. His idea of rebuilding trust is literally being shot. Peter actually expected Quagmire to say, you know what, that's enough, let's just talk. But no, he takes the gun like he's been waiting for this moment his entire life. And that's another point we see Quagmire taking things a little too far. But then they start wrestling over it. Never a good idea. And just when things are about to go horribly wrong, Joe steps in and shoots Peter himself, right in the arm. Problem solved, right? Joe cheerfully declares they are all friends again, as if getting shot is just another item on the friendship checklist. But then Quagmire takes it one step further.
I'm just trying to settle this nonsense.
Nothing got settled. You shot him. I'm the one who has to shoot him.
Wait a second. All right, then I get to shoot Joe. All right, he shot me. I mean, if we're doing things fair here, then...
All right, we're good.
Looks like Quagmire really had to settle it that way and no other way. In this episode, Quagmire goes from justifiably angry to downright unhinged. He could have taken the high road, or at least the road without bullets, but instead, he lets revenge take the wheel. And Peter, well, he might be an idiot, but at least he didn't shoot anyone in the head. When Cleveland's love life flatlines after his divorce, the guys rally to get him back in the game. Peter's solution? Drag him to a taping of The Bachelorette, because nothing says emotional healing like forced reality television. And Cleveland, he's not having it. He gets claustrophobic, panics over his clothes, and ends up shirtless in front of strangers. Peter tries to comfort him in the most uncomfortable way possible. He also removes his clothes so that Cleveland won't feel alone. It's chaos, but not the kind Cleveland signed up for. But while all this is happening, Brian tries to smooth things over and ends up accidentally joining the show himself.
Excuse me. Hi. Yeah, listen, I just wanted to apologize for Peter. He was just trying to help out his friend.
What's your name?
Brian?
Congratulations, Brian. You're gonna be on The Bachelorette.
Now, Brian is in the contestant pool, mostly for the free champagne. Unfortunately, Quagmire also makes the cut, and this is where things start spiraling fast. Quagmire, predictably, doesn't treat this like a fun dating competition. He zeroes in on the Bachelorette, her name is Brooke, and turns on the full creep mode. And by full creep mode, I mean drugging her drink and trying to drag her unconscious body away. Quagmire only stops when he remembers the cameras are still rolling. So, he does what any rational man would do in that moment, and steals one of her shoes and sneaks off. Yep, just the shoe. And somehow, just somehow, Brooke keeps him in the competition. At this point, even Quagmire is shocked.
Glenn, will you accept this rose?
Really? After I drugged you and tried to have sex with your unconscious body?
What?
Yes.
And Brian's face says it all. No one can believe she's still giving Quagmire roses. Maybe the producers needed ratings, or maybe Brooke missed the whole trying to commit a felony scene. Either way, it's down to Brian and Quagmire. Next comes the family meet and greet, which is a whole new level of disturbing. Meeting Brian's family obviously ends up in chaos, but Quagmire's, it's even worse. He yells at the cat, insults his mom, and then, because this is Quagmire, proposes a three-way with them.
Glenn, would you feed Mittens?
Mittens has food in his bowl.
That's old food.
Mittens, shut up. Mittens, shut up.
Don't you talk to Mittens that way. Mittens is a member of this family.
Mom, you want this three-way to happen, you're gonna have to change your tone.
At this point, even Brooke has to see the warning signs, right? Somehow, no. It still comes down to a dramatic final rose ceremony. And despite all the red flags, Brian wins. Maybe it's because he actually grew to care about her. Maybe it's because he never tried to drug her. Who knows? But let's be honest, this episode is not about Brian. It's about Quagmire being so wildly inappropriate that even the artificial drama of reality TV can't contain him. Drugging a contestant with the intent of assaulting her, stealing her shoe after being caught, then sniffing it, threatening a cat, and suggesting a threesome with his own mother, that isn't quirky. That is deeply unwell and goes way too far. Even thinking about it alone could land you in prison for many years. We finally made it to the last entry on our list, and of course, we're ending on a wild one, the episode Valentine's Day in Quahog. Now, this is one of those anthology-style episodes where everyone gets their own little storyline. Peter and Lois attempt a romantic date, which, unsurprisingly, falls apart. Chris ends up on a deeply uncomfortable outing thanks to Herbert's grandniece. Meg somehow turns a kidney theft into a wholesome date, and Stewie time travels through centuries of romance because why not? But you already know why we're here. Quagmire. Quagmire starts Valentine's Day like he always does, with a one-night stand and zero emotional attachment. He wakes up ready to move on with his life, but his date has other ideas.
Oh, you're still here?
Yeah. After a wonderful night, I thought we could get some breakfast.
So far, this is typical Quagmire, but then he hits a button, like a literal button, and this poor woman gets catapulted from his couch and ejected out of his house like a malfunctioning package on an assembly line.
Here, let me help you to the door.
You're a jerk, Glenn Quagmire!
A built-in woman ejector. You heard that right. He built an entire mechanism just to forcibly remove people from his home, and yet it gets worse. She curses him on the way out, and not long after, karma strikes. Quagmire picks up a strange-looking gadget she left behind. At first, he thinks it's just some weird hair straightener, or another bizarre female product. But then...
What the hell? That's weird. Why do I look like a chick in that mirror?
He is still a man, but everyone else will see him as a beautiful woman. So the curse just came to pass. Now everything will treat him like a woman, including some of his very disturbing devices.
What's wrong with you, Holder Downer 5000? That's just for women.
The Holder Downer 5000. Yes, that is what it's called. It's a machine whose sole function is to restrain women in his bed. Metal arms shoot out, locking him in place. This is not just a gag. This is a full-on Bond villain device engineered for, well, deeply concerning reasons. At this point, Quagmire is cursed to experience what women apparently feel when they're around him. He has become a woman, and it only gets more awkward from here. Joe, who doesn't recognize him, immediately flirts. Dr. Hartman wants to run a medical exam that sounds more like an HR violation. Everywhere he goes, Quagmire is hit on, objectified, and ignored when he says no. Now, you might think this is where he would finally learn something. A big revelation, a heartfelt apology, some genuine growth. No. Instead, Quagmire just leans into it.
Oh no! This is the universe giving me what I deserve for being such a pig all the time. From now on, I'm gonna do things differently. Men are jerks. Let's swear off of them and find comfort in each other.
That's right. His grand takeaway is to use this new female body to seduce women. Again, even when the show tries to punish Quagmire, he ends up twisting the situation into another chance to be a predator. The curse just becomes another detour in his endless journey of creepiness. And that brings us back to the machines. He has a woman-launching couch, a bed that grabs people, and probably a dozen other horrors we never get to see. He built these things. He designed them. He thought they were good ideas. That's not just cartoonish. That is premeditated madness. So even in an episode where he is technically the victim, Quagmire still manages to be the most disturbing person in the room. He definitely goes too far in this one. Quagmire has crossed so many lines, it's hard to tell where they even started. Whether he's building machines to trap women or crashing a plane just to chase a date, he always finds a way to take things too far. But that's just what makes him so unforgettable. In a show built on chaos, Quagmire's behavior could just be what keeps it enticing.